smartest guys around are about to break it down like they've won the game a million times.
Well, actually, they didn't really win the game at all.
Survivor know it all. Survivor know it all.
Yes, that's right. The know-it-alls are back and better than ever because today Rob Cesternino is hobnobbing with the glitterati at the San Francisco event. So I am joined by my knight in shining armor, Sir Owen Knight. Welcome. Ding, I hit the bell.
There we go. Hello, Uncle Steven. It's so good to see you. Honored to be back here on the Know-It-Alls. It's truly just like so great to be a part of RHAP and just to be here talking about the season. Like, as you know, Sammy and I welcomed our daughter about 6 weeks ago. So I've been a little bit out of it, like been more passively taking in the season so far, but we're on a nice stretch here. These last 2 episodes, I'm really excited to talk about it with you.
How is your sleep?
Better than you would expect. Lenny's a good sleeper. She gets like 4 or 5 hours at the beginning of the night, and then she'll wake up, give her a bottle. She'll go back to sleep for another 3-ish hours. And so I'm getting more. It's interrupted, but it's good. I'm content.
Okay, tonight we have a fully lucid Owen here to talk about what I think was the best episode of the season. You know, people were very excited about last week. I was super excited about this week. This was a real merge. Like, when was the last time we got a real merge, Owen Knight?
I guess it must have been pre-New Era. It must have been Winners at War. Like, none of this mergatory BS. Like, we're getting a full, no one's getting robbed from making the jury. Of course, someone just started weed whacking right outside my window. But I really enjoyed it. I loved seeing the push and pull. I loved the build up to tribal council, and I had a lot of fun with this one.
This is what we want from the merge. This is exactly why the merge episode has always been the best episode of the season, and why I think mergatory loses some of this intensity and splitting into groups loses some of this intensity, because all season long we've been seeing these alliances build up and these factions and these rivalries. And what you want from the merge is everything exploding. Suddenly this group has to choose a side and they're going that way, and this group thinks they're on top but they're not, and this other like faction is emerging, and what's going to happen with that? To me, this is exactly what I want from a merge episode. I do think this is missing. I'm so glad they went back to this. Where are you, Owen? Because you lived the life of mergatory. You've got, and you new era people are all new era boosters. Are you able to see past your own blinkered biases to the glory of this merge episode?
I'm anti-mergatory. I've never purported to support it. I think it's so much juicier when you have all the targets available and you have just like a real survivor merge happening and real action happening. And like you said, it's just like the lead up to it. It's just been simmering and simmering. And now you finally get to see it come to fruition without all the guardrails of 6 people being safe or whatever shenanigans are happening. It's refreshing to see, like, this is what Survivor is about, is just that pendulum swinging and jockeying for position and seeing if your social bonds you have built with someone like a Jawan or a Sage will come out on top of the opposition's relationship with Jawan and Sage. And it was very, very gratifying to see it come and see a plan come together. And, I can't help but root for the bottoms up, for the underdogs, or whoever feels like they're the underdogs in the moment. And I would never defend mergatory. I really think this is the way it should be at a merge. I mean, you think about like Kagiyan's merge episode where Sarah Lucina goes home, and like it's some of the best Survivor that happens. And I feel like it's been neutered over the past 8 seasons to where you don't get that same level of gameplay. You don't get that same, it's like it has training wheels on it when you've got like limited choice, whereas this gives the players full agency to explore their options and try to put themselves in the best position going into the next stage of the game.
Now, do you think that this format change was planned in advance, or was this just because of the medevac that happened earlier on and they were kind of forced into this more limited group?
You got to think it probably was a function of Jake getting medevac. So it does make me wonder if someone needs to get bitten by a snake every year. And hopefully, Jake's loss is our gain in that production gets to see maybe the reaction to this or get to see how this round ended up shaking out, that it is objectively, it's subjectively, in my opinion, more exciting. I do hope that they take a look in the mirror and going into 51, 52, hearing some of the clamoring for two tribes, for a traditional merge, for some of these old school gameplay elements that have been missing for the past 8 seasons. And I think that's what makes Survivor fun, is that going in as a player, you might not necessarily know what you're going to get, at least at the beginning of the game, but knowing that the merge could be a thing, or, I really hope that they do some introspection and think that this could be a win moving forward and a good way to, make the game better.
Well, it was all happening at the merge, and this week it's all going to be our happening here on RHAP. So tonight we have us, Owen and me, going to be talking about the real know-it-alls, the true finalists who knew how to make the end. And votes are overrated. And then, of course, Rob will be reporting back from the glitterati with the San Francisco episode coming up, I guess, tomorrow. And then he will have his exit interview with the eliminated player, the great Nate, who I am distraught about because I really liked him. I really liked his vibe. And I'm devastated to see him go out here. But let's talk about it, Owen. Was this the right choice? We were so in a couple of ways, and maybe we can start by just kind of this trio of Ulis that we were kind of presented, because we can talk about the bottoms up alliance and whether they made the right choice later. But like in terms of this kind of abstract choice between this trio of Ulis, right? On the one hand, you have Christina saying she wants Nate. He's the safe option. On the other hand, you have Jawan pushing on Rizzo. He's got the idol. Let's get it out. But he's not going to play it. Let's get it out now. And then you have Sage pushing on Savannah. She's the dangerous player. Let's take our shot while we have it. What's your take, Owen, of that trio? Is this the right call? And I guess the right call for whom?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, obviously we have the benefit of hindsight and we get to see how it shook out. But to me, the benefit of having 2 double agents is that you're getting information that you might not get if you were just, going head to head, seeing if you can get the numbers. But the fact that they were able to get Jawan and Sage back into the good graces of the original Uli, I feel like they maybe missed an opportunity to take advantage of the fact that they knew Rizzo wasn't going to play his idol. Of course, there's always the thought in the back of your head, like, oh, what if he's on to me and he's just telling me what I want to hear? But I think there was a little bit of that winking at the camera as well, with Jeff talking to them about 50, them talking about the prospects of playing on 50, the desire to start building their legacy and start building themselves up as someone who could be asked to return. And I forget who said it, but it's like, is the safe move like what you want to do if you want to go back and be invited back? So there is a little bit of an element of like, this could have been a bigger move, but I still think it's a win for the bottoms up. But I think they could have taken a shot at a Rizzo or Savannah with the information they had, and diving in, taking a leap of faith with that spy they had in Jawan.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm trying to put myself out there. And I think if I am out there, I am always trying to do the most reliable move that will have the less chance of blowing up. But that said, I do think you're right that this is the only moment where the Uli Alliance thinks that the bottoms up alliance is with them. They think they have the numbers. They think that Jawan and Sage are voting with them. And as a result, they don't think they need the idol. And as soon as this vote happens, suddenly Savannah and Rizzo are going to realize, hey, we're on the bottom. We have to play aggressively. We have to mix things up. We have to play the idol strategically. So I agree with you that the right move here was probably voting out Rizzo and taking out his idol and putting the idol back in the game. And honestly, especially if you're Jawan, especially if you're Sage, especially if you're Christina, because if it does blow up, it's not you. You know, for Steven, this is the right move to do the safe thing, the thing that is not going to get him voted out of the game. But for the people who are not directly in the line of fire, I kind of think this is the wrong move, because even if it does blow up in Steven's face, I mean, it's still like a 5-5, right? Next week. Is that right? And so like, but it does seem like they believe Rizzo's not going to play it. And just psychologically, they know that Rizzo thinks he's on top. They know that the Ulis think they have this together. So of course it's all much more rational from our perspective. We can when you're out there, you have no idea what anybody is doing, but from an outsider's perspective, it does seem like this was kind of a missed opportunity. And next week, even if they do keep targeting this Uli group, now the idol is very much in play, and they have much bigger problems because they really don't know. They have to assume someone is going to play the idol. They don't know where it's going to go, and it's going to be a lot more dangerous looking to the next vote. So I do think this was a real wasted opportunity.
Yeah, and like I said, it's hard to Wednesday night quarterback this, and I'm certainly not saying I would have necessarily done that myself if I was there. And I do wonder how they ended up settling on Nate. I wonder if they gave Steven the final call. Although then again, MC played the idol on herself. So did they even know Steven was catching the votes? He seemed to be aware of it, but I just wonder how that came to be and if they all just decided to take the more conservative approach. But it's a hard call. It really is. But I think freeing up that idol, getting it back into circulation, that would have been an added benefit, because now they're out in the open. They've jumped out from the Uli group. They're fully saying, we are against you. I'm against you, Russell. Like this is they are out. This is their chance. They had their chance to catch them with their pants down, and it worked. I thought Nate was a real contender. Actually, at the beginning of the episode, I wrote down he was kind of one of the top of my list for folks that I thought could be in a position to make a deep run here. So I don't think it's like they got out an inconsequential player per se, but like you said, I think the benefit of freeing up an idol, utilizing their subterfuge, it was a juicy opportunity, but I don't necessarily blame them. But
that's a great point. In this episode, Nate was presented as the safe choice because he was less of a big threat to have the idol played on him. But all season long, we've been talking about Nate as kind of the figurehead of this Uli alliance, the top dog in that group. Full credit to Rob Cesternino. I don't mind giving him full credit because he's not here. He said I think he called Nate being the potential merge boot as the kind of head of the dragon there in that Uli group. So it's not a crazy choice for them to go for him here. It's not just like they were like, can't take one of the big dogs out. Let's go for Nate, because Nate really did seem to be the big dog in a lot of ways. So
yeah, he's a big dog too, for sure.
Yeah, and he is quite literally big.
Yeah.
So it does make there's a lot to be said for going for him here, even apart from that question of safety. Let's talk about this from the bottoms up alliance. First of all, again, credit to Rob Cesternino.
He's not here, Steven. You don't have to do this.
Well, no, now I can give him his flowers because he's not. I don't think because he's not here. When he's here, I've got to hold.
I would never say this to his face.
Yeah. I would never say these nice words to his face. I would never. But behind his back, I can say that he correctly called that Juwan would flip. He said that Juwan was going to flip, and he had been looking for people and now found Steven and Sage. I had said, no, what are you talking about? Juwan is Uli strong. I was wrong. Rob, I hope you're not listening to this, but if you are, you were right. But so this bottoms up alliance. First of all, let's talk about this name, Owen. Is this the worst name for any alliance in Survivor history?
No, I don't think so. I think Matt. What did Matt want to say his alliance with Juwan was? The section, like they were two fighter jets, circling each other or something.
Isn't the sectional a couch? That's what whenever I hear that, I think of like the couch alliance. Yeah.
No, I'm pro bottoms up. We had the power bottoms on Australia versus the world. We're here for it. We're here for the bottoms. Congratulations to them on pulling off a move. I mean, Mason Dixon has aged a little poorly.
I feel like that was not super au courant at the moment either. Like that was never the the most politically correct choice even then.
What are you gonna do? But no, I'm for it. I think Steven's having fun. I actually really love Steven. I think some people are saying he's really corny and his dad jokes are lame and this and that, but to me he seems like a really earnest, sweet guy. So I'm just here for anything he's doing, honestly. He's one of my favorites this season, and I think he's just having fun. And I don't know. I'll take bottoms up over like the underdogs. It's just like
right. It's got some more flair to it.
Right. I think I called my group at one point the bottom feeders. I kind of like that one, but it's not the worst I've ever heard. I'll take
Were
it.
you in the Baka Boys?
That. Yes, I guess I was in the Baka Boys. I was a boy on Baka. It was a little on the nose, I think. I think it was a little literal, but yeah, I was not. I was ride or die adjacent. We can do some work. Say what you will about Big Brother, but they do get a little bit more creative with it. I guess they have more time to think about it while they're just like melting in the house. But yeah, it's not the worst thing I've ever heard.
What's your ideal alliance? You go back on Survivor. What are you calling it? The alliance.
God, that's impossible. I mean, I'd thinking about like everything I think about now, Steven, because of you, is through the lens of Blood on the Clock Tower. So I don't know. The minions are like
Good.
I don't know. I have no idea. I've not put much thought into this, clearly, and this is making for tremendous podcasting. But I'd probably
let's take 15, 20 minutes and just like mull about it.
Yeah, let's rattle them off. But no, I would try to weave in some wink or nod to my friends and people back home, and probably through a Clock Tower reference, if I had to venture a guess.
What do you feel? How do you feel about Fishbach and Friends? Because like I feel like if my alliance is called Fishbach and Friends, and I get to the end, I'm like the freaking alliance was called Fishbach and Friends. Who are these? It's Fishbach. Like,
I would be honored to be a Fishbach friend.
Right, Fishbach and Friends. It's very clear who's the who's going to win that game.
I love it.
Yeah. All right. Well, so we're endorsing Bottoms Up, the name. How do you feel about Bottoms Up, the strategy?
I do like it. I mean, I was a little like on the fence as to whether it would come to fruition. Like if I was just getting teased that like a flip was going to happen, I was wondering if Sage's relationship with Shannon was, the like it was just going to be about that move and then she would go back. But I think Sage wisely got wind of how maybe Savannah felt about her. We saw her confessional this week about how Savannah feels it feels to Sage that Savannah is using her as a number and isn't actually as interested in getting to know her or valuing her as an actual player. So I really love seeing this group come together. Juwan was actually my winner pick before the season, and I thought he was really looking screwed for a while there. I think if Uli had ever lost, he was probably not looking very good there. And I really like this trio coming together. I'm just interested how Alex ended up getting on board, who ended up telling him, but I'm all for them defecting to Hina.
Yeah, I a lot of fun moments with this trio, starting even when the other two boats are coming to their camp and they're like not even sure if they should go say hi. I thought that was can you talk us through that scene? I thought that was a very fun scene.
That was crazy to me. I don't know why they were thinking that. Like, could you imagine just lying down that whole time? Like, that would be just the most off-putting, weird thing you could do. But at the same time, I love that they were just like, oh, Jesus, like, here they come. Like, I respect the authenticity in that they weren't all of that excited to, like, see these people and, like, go through the song and dance of, like, oh, God, here we go. We got to put on a show and do this whole thing. But to me, not greeting the boats on the beach with a smile and a wave is just, like, it's easy to do, it's just like, that's kind of a freebie in my opinion. So I did think that was a little odd, but it made for good TV.
So my read on that was that they were kind of nervous about how the other tribes would respond to seeing Shannon voted off. Mm-hmm. And certainly maybe Juwan and Sage just didn't want to have to deal with it in a way. And Steven was kind of like graciously playing along with it. And, Sage kind of has big eye roll energy anyway. So she, I can imagine her not wanting to, run down like, welcome to our home, it's just like not her vibe exactly. It's not cinematic.
I am glad they didn't go with the plan of like Steven popping out of the bushes. I think that might have been a little too far.
Yeah.
Would have been hilarious, but I don't think that would have gone over well at all. What did you think about the story they sold to old Uli about just Shannon just like crashing out essentially? I had put in chat BCC last week, like maybe they say Steven played an idol. After further reflection, maybe saying Steven played his shot in the dark. I feel like that is a pretty harmless, believable thing. What do you think? Do you think that was like, clearly Uli bought it, but I was a little shocked they did. And I wasn't sure if that was the right move at the time, but it worked. What did you think?
I'm a fan of the fewest lies possible. Like, I feel like if they say he played an idol, then there are going to be questions. Where did you get the idol? Oh, was it in a beware advantage? Like, oh, would that mean there were 2 on that beach? MC suddenly like, we got an idol. And even with the shot in the dark, I think, suddenly if someone looks in his bag and sees he still got his shot, it's like a physical thing you carry with you, right? Like, so, whoa, I thought you played that. It just suddenly catches up with you. Even with this, I thought it was a little unnecessarily ornate. Just say Shannon wanted to target Juwan. She turned on us and she was no longer Uli strong. So we thought that this was a safe bet for us, that we wanted to get rid of the person. That said, I don't think it was so crazy. I think that in general, whenever a group votes out someone, they always claim that this was the person causing chaos and they were paranoid and they were, and this is kind of the way that the remaining contestants get to justify why it was like morally and emotionally the right choice to vote this person out, even included additionally to like strategically. I feel like every single vote in Cambodia afterwards, we always said, oh yeah, and this person, they were just driving so much chaos and isn't camp nice without them. And then the next person, oh my gosh, thank God they're gone. They were causing all this drama and strategy and chaos. And like, it's just the thing you say about that person. And honestly, it was not I mean, obviously Shannon was not acting loopy. She was not being, wild and erratic, but it is true that she had turned on Juwan, at least from what we saw, that she wanted to vote at Juwan. I think she voted for Juwan. So that's so it does seem like that is, totally believable. And everyone bought it. Right. And I think that's probably everyone's very happy to buy that kind of story. Okay. Yeah. She was crazy and chaotic and strategic and glad she's gone. It doesn't need to be beyond that.
Yep. And she won't be at Final Tribal to push back on that. So.
Right. Yeah, exactly. No one's there to contradict you. So no problem. Just making up outrageous lies about the pre-mergers. Yeah. So the only, I still have lingering questions about this choice. And I just want to talk through them because I haven't really thought through it at all. And I hear you. Juwan was at the bottom of Uli. Sage was at the bottom of Uli. Steven, this is all gravy for him, because he gets to keep his position with Hina and he gets these 2 new secret allies. So it's great for Steven too. So I do think you're right that ultimately this is a good choice for everybody in that group, certainly from what we've seen, that this inherently improves their position. But if Juwan and Sage go with Hina, original Hina, that leaves the 2 of them with MC, Steven, Sophie, and Christina. Now, we have seen some rivalry between Sophie and Christina last week. But what's your read? Like, are they going from the bottom of one group to the bottom of another group, or are they opening up the game for themselves?
I think more the latter. I mean, you saw Steven tell Juwan, and obviously he could have been, embellishing since they were having a strategy conversation, but he said to Juwan, like, you saved me at the Shannon vote. Just tell me who to vote. Like, I owe you one, essentially. And to me, Steven, I said this earlier, he strikes me as a very earnest kind of person. And I perceive him as someone who really would mean that when he said that, like, hey, like, you had me, I have you now. Like, to me, I see them as a tighter 3. Quite honestly, like I said, I've been parenting a newborn. I'm not fully like encyclopedic with my knowledge of the swap tribes, but I feel like the bond they connected by voting out Shannon and now pulling off this move is probably deeper than some other opportunities and some other relationships Steven might have had. Like, Steven and MC seem very close, but like I feel like, him and Christina didn't really get to do a whole lot together. You know what I mean? So I feel like this is more of a battle tested kind of alliance, and moving into the post merge, you don't want to hinge on something someone told you a week ago. You want to go based on the data and the relationships and what's happening right in front of you. And I feel like they've proven that they can be a 3 moving forward. They all vocalize that independently kind of after tribal council at the beginning of this episode. And then they executed on it at this tribal council. So I feel like them 3 are like pretty tight at this point.
And I do think there's something very compelling about both a secret alliance and specifically a secret alliance that has a name. I know I keep coming back to the names, but I do think names are important because you kind of like get that emotional and imaginistic weight behind an alliance. On Token Sheens, I had the Warrior Alliance. There was a great scene where maybe it was on Heroes Villains where Coach just like maybe says to like someone, how could we go through all this and give our alliance a name and then let it blow up like this? Maybe that was, I don't remember those. That might have been Token
all the
Sheens.
emotional labor of picking a name.
Yeah.
We can't renege on this.
I think it might have been Token Sheens because the Warrior Alliance was, I don't know if we knew the name of Coach's alliance in and maybe that's where Coach went wrong in Heroes Villains, is not giving his alliance a name. But I do think that there's something to it. Like it just like, it's part of the fun of the game. It kind of like invests you in it. And I do think a lot of like it really helps. It helps groups along. So I do think you're right that this could be good for all of them. And certainly I think we're seeing Sage feel her oats a little bit, where she is now feeling like she can drive strategy, where before she kind of had to sit back a bit and be more passive. Is it going to be too much? Is this power going to go to Sage's head?
I don't think so. And I might be reading too much into, or putting too much stock into my reads on people, but Sage doesn't strike me as someone who would get like high off of power. I don't know if you had the chance to read her interview with Dalton that he posted earlier today, but I really enjoyed it. And she strikes me as a really level-headed, emotionally intelligent, thoughtful person. And like, obviously she's had like a bit of an up and down kind of situation in this game, but she doesn't strike me as someone who would suddenly just start like acting super Machiavellian and, super duper cutthroat in a way. We did see a little bit in the preview for next week, just talking more about her relationship with Savannah, but I don't think she's going to get like too high on her own supply. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're probably right that her kind of baseline of feeling like she's on the bottom is going to keep her from, top dogging it too much. And then it's just like not her personality. It really does seem like not to be her personality. But of course, any power corrupts, Owen. So anybody can go to anybody's head. And we've certainly seen, people who seemed very level-headed go mad with power.
That's true. I will say though, to what you just said about her being on the bottom previously, I do think that sometimes can be grounding, knowing that it can flip on a dime, and that you've been on the bottom before, how shitty it can feel, and like you've just turned the tables. It could easily happen again. Like on one hand, there are certain people that might get seduced by that and go like overcorrect and go crazy and get mad with power. But I feel like the more introspective people have that ability to like keep it level and understand that, it's a precarious situation and not to get too cocky with one successful move.
Okay, so everybody comes together at the merge, and the Bottoms Up Alliance does a great job of stealth reintegrating with old Uli. And I think it's Rizzo who throws out the idea that they need to get rid of a Hina, and the best Hina to get rid of is yellow Sophie, largely because it simplifies the Sophie issue. How did you feel about all this?
I didn't fully understand that. Like, we've seen so little from Sophie, which makes me sad. She and I are from the same county in Maryland. Like, we both did summer swim growing up. Like, I inherently was wanting to root for her. Side note, beautiful smile. You're doing great, Sophie. But, we hadn't been told the story of Sophie being someone consequential and like the backbone of Hina necessarily. So it didn't make a ton of sense to me. And were you joking? I may have missed, like, was the Sophie issue something he actually said? Like the naming?
Yeah. No, I believe he specifically said like it will make it easier to deal with the Sophie things.
Hell, that's a good reason as any, honestly. Yeah. I mean, if you're looking for a target, sure. And honestly, I don't know. Sophie does. I could see her striking people as someone who could be a dangerous player. You know what I mean? I think obviously we have our perception tinted by the edit and what we've seen from her, but I feel like I'd be pretty threatened by her out there. She's quite athletic. She's charming. She's like, I really think that it makes as much sense as any other choice, particularly with what they might know about any idols or advantages floating around. So yeah, I didn't realize he had actually said that. I must have missed that, but I love it. I love it.
Yeah, and
Sometimes
she honestly has among the fewest relationships, right? Just from the various swaps with Uli, where MC was obviously just with Rizzo and Savannah, Steven, of course, with Juwan and Sage, and then let's see. I feel like Sophie's been kind of in a Hina bubble a little bit. I'm trying to remember the first swap. The first swap. Sophie, well, I guess Sophie and Christina have been together the whole time, and honestly, not too much with any of the Ulis there, but yeah, I mean, between the two of them, maybe Sophie. I mean, of the people who have the fewest relationships, and Nate doesn't really. And there was a hint that Christina maybe had more of a connection to Nate last time, because that was what made Sophie so upset, was that it was going to be Christina going to Nate and Sophie was going to be the decoy boot. So maybe they, so maybe that could just be she had the fewest relationships with any Hina, so it was kind of an easy consensus.
We've already said her name once. It's easier to say it again. Sometimes the simplest answer is just, the path of least resistance. I could see that. It seemed like a pretty, I don't want to say inconsequential, but I don't know if there was like you said, there's just not as much connection there, and she's already had her name thrown out there. It's it might have been just the easiest thing to do.
And of course, there's just simply the retroactive fact that she wins the immunity challenge. So obviously we have to see the story that shows she is the one being targeted, because that's the stakes. When it was down to her and Steven, and we'd seen basically nothing about anybody targeting Steven at this point, and Sophie had been the who's winning that challenge. There's no ambivalence or ambiguity about who's winning that challenge.
I love it. I mean, it writes itself. And again, I'm really happy for Sophie, because she really has had kind of a tough edit, and I'm sure it's hard for anyone who was a fan of the show to see themselves on the show and not get a ton of content. And so, yeah, big night for her. So, and it worked out really conveniently. Like you said, it's like they almost knew that she was going to win.
And so, editors did know, because they'd already seen this prior to editing the episode. Owen, did you know that?
That is true.
It's not airing live.
Oh, they're not in Fiji right now?
No, they come back. They choose from hundreds of hours of footage to select to create a compelling storyline. Yeah, that's how they get the confessionals in there and everything.
Smart. I bet you'd be a great novelist.
Well, it's a subject very close to my heart. So let's talk about Sophie's challenge win here, where she thanks her mom. She says, "This is for my mom," and that her mom is, I think, the toughest or most relentless person she knows, and she can power through anything. Now, does this hit you different now that you have a child? Can you imagine your child winning an immunity challenge and thanking you? Isn't that beautiful to think about?
It is beautiful. I'd be so happy if I ever got to hear that from Lenny on Survivor 85, where Robo Jeff is putting the necklace around her. I'd be cheesed, chuffed to bits, as you would say. Yeah, I mean, that's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, Survivor 85 actually only 16 years old. I guess I don't know if Lenny's going to qualify for Survivor 85. 17 years old.
Survivor 94. There you
go. What challenge do you think, based on what you've seen of her in the past 6 weeks, what challenge do you think is going to play to Lenny's strengths?
Ooh, that's a really good one. I think the one in South Pacific where they have to tear the meat off of the giant pork shank that's hanging off a hook. Because sometimes when I'm giving her a bottle, she just goes and just gets right on in there. Those neck muscles are overdeveloped. So yeah, I think she'd go crazy on that challenge.
Well, you've got the neck muscles with your last gasp, performance.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. It runs in the family.
What is she gonna say? When she says this is for my dad, in the way that Sophie says, my mom is so relentless. I don't know if those were her exact words. What is Lenny gonna say? This is for my dad. He's so what?
He's so bad at Survivor. I need to overcome the family legacy and finish what he started.
Yeah. It's the Brandon Hant strategy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she'll have Lil Knight tattooed on her neck and cover it up. She doesn't want anyone to know, because I'm so threatening and have all this baggage with my name. Yeah.
And so she wins, and that is fun, because then suddenly they have to scramble and try to figure out who else to vote for. They decide Steven. Juwan goes along with it. Let's talk about this conversation between Blue Sophie and Alex, where they both sit down at the merge. and say to each other, kind of, what was your take on that conversation?
I was a little surprised, I guess, and I was, I guess, proud of Alex in a way for almost, I don't want to say like standing up for himself. That sounds a little dramatic, but like he's playing his game, he's saying, like, kind of to my conversation earlier about like what has happened more recently and what relationships are you relying on now. He's not just defaulting to going back to Sophie B, just because that they started the game together. Like, he spent this time now with the original Hinas. I think he was swapped twice with a few of them. Again, apologies that I can't keep perfect track, but yeah, he's been with Christina now on 2 different tribes. He's been with Sophie on 2 different tribes. So like he's playing his game, which I do respect, but I don't know how much Sophie was counting on that.
Yeah. What are the votes here if Alex is it? I think it's a so the votes for Nate were all of old Hina. That's Steven, Christina, Sophie, and MC. Then you have Sage and Juwan. And then Alex is actually the 7th. Mm-hmm. So they didn't actually need Alex there. If Alex had gone with old Uli and Soph and voted for Steven, it would have still been a 6-5 vote. Mm-hmm. And so and Alex specifically says, I'm going where the numbers are. But you're right. Someone had to have told Alex where the numbers were. And I do, it could easily have been one of those people who was just with him on one of the swap tribes.
That's my guess. And I imagine we'll get kind of a retroactive explanation of that at the beginning of next episode of how he came to be in the majority. And to our conversation earlier about the bottoms up and, are they on the bottom now? Theoretically, maybe they are, like they could be, because now that's say Alex, Christina, Sophie S, and MC. Maybe them 4, now have a majority over the bottoms up. Like, that could make it a more dangerous situation for Steve and Juwan and Sage, but I'm not sure. I'll need to see how it came to be, and if like was the bottoms up aware that Alex was voting with them, because that is always kind of like a weird feeling. I remember the vote where Noelle stole my vote and we voted James out. Sammy had told Carla about that at the last minute, and that really kind of was defeating to me, because I felt like, oh, I'm getting this big move together. I'm going to have like, I'm going to take some power. I'm going to shake up the game a little bit. But then to have your plan get told to someone else who you didn't want to be in that plan, that was just like, why are you raining on my parade? Like, that is a potential friction there. So I am curious if like Christina and Sophie told Alex last minute and Steven didn't know, that could lead to something.
Yeah. What did you think here? I generally like Alex, the way Alex is playing this, as kind of not really choosing a side, kind of being, I don't know. Normally I say the opposite. So I'm trying to like check myself here. It seems to be, from what I'm watching, it makes a lot of sense for Alex to, just go with the majority, not draw attention to himself. But typically I do think that the people who win Survivor are the ones who are on a side and can kind of say throughout the game, hey, this was my side and my side won, quite frankly. These are my allies. So the people who you stood by really feel like you stood by them, and the people who are against you don't feel as betrayed by you because they knew they were against you. And whereas like if you're constantly bouncing back and forth, there's going to be people who really feel hurt by that. And they're going to vote almost against you as much as they're going to vote for you. So what's your take here on the way Alex is playing?
Yeah, I think that kind of ethos can vary so much season to season. And this season seems to have a lot of friction and conflict. And I don't want to say bad blood, but, a sense of competition between Uli and Hina. So I could see there being a little bit more animosity towards someone who is playing more of a back and forth kind of game, to where it's like they're so tribalized in the way that they're viewing the game so far that I could see that landing more poorly than maybe in a more fluid season that doesn't feel quite as Team A versus Team B. So I am curious, and just not to overanalyze the edit, but I'm dubious on Alex's chances. Like, I do wonder where he goes from here. Like, yes, he's in the majority, and he could imagine himself having a 4 amongst the 7 here and putting him in a good spot. But I just don't know if it's his story being told, or if he's just more like a number at this point, being jockeyed over. And that's my fear. And that's how I kind of felt sometimes, is like, I felt like I was scrambling to be a part of a majority, just like desperate to get into the majority, just so I could like pause and breathe for a second and feel like I didn't have to like scramble quite as much. And he obviously doesn't have it as dire in that sense, and that he's not getting targeted. But I do wonder if he's just biding his time and hoping to pull off a strike here soon. But I think I'm more on the side of, I think he needs to take a firmer stance pretty soon here if he wants to, make it to the end and win.
You kind of need your name on something. That's why Fishbach and Friends is such a great name for an alliance, by the way. You kind of need your name on something in order to justify that win. And if you are just that person who's going with the numbers, it works in certain circumstances. I mean, obviously it works extremely famously for Sandra, the anybody but me strategy. But I do think you kind of need to have in this era of Survivor, your name on something. You have to give people a positive reason to vote for you here. So yeah, I think it's going to be tricky because, I think if I'm Alex, I'm thinking, what alliance can I put together? Like, what's my little like group of stragglers? And maybe he's waiting for that moment to like pull the 3 or 4 people, which is kind of what Erica did in 41. Is that an accurate assessment? Like she sort of like pulled a small little group together right kind of at the end there to kind of like give herself the.
I don't remember. I'm sorry.
You're supposed to know the 40s. To me, it's all a blur. You're of
it's
this.
Becoming a blur to me, Steven.
Yeah.
It's I don't know if it's being a dad now or what, or if it's because the past 9 seasons have all felt the same. But like, yeah, I don't remember the end game of 41. I'm sorry, but
he might just be waiting for his time to do something like that. And maybe you do just need a little bit, right? And maybe that is the correct strategy here, is to kind of wait for this one, like wait for your moment to strike essentially. But, just based on the dynamics of this season, where it really is these two kind of warring groups, you don't really see who's here to pick up, right? Like there's no obvious answer of who is Alex going to swoop up in the way that Rob in season 42 was so certain that Romeo was going to pick up all the stragglers, and just never did. And Rob was so wrong about that. So embarrassingly wrong. Just humiliating call by Rob. But in that season, there was, you could see that happening. There was kind of like, there were stragglers to pick up. And I don't really know. I don't see that now for Alex, like where those people are. Let's talk about MC. The other kind of like major development of this episode was MC finding her idol. Do you want to talk a little bit about that scene?
That was tough to watch. I mean, she's there with the map in her mouth, putting her hair up,
in her mouth.
Look for the keys, and Savannah just pulls right on up. That was tough, and I mean, I loved it though, because that's what Survivor is, right? Those interpersonal conflicts that are happening, and you see on the surface they're trying to have this conversation like, yeah, I want to work with you, and they both know it's bullshit, right? And it's fun to watch that dance, and it's like a fight, they're having the sparring match. And I don't know, Savannah's intense. I feel like if like Savannah, I lived in Savannah City, and she like came up to me, it's like, hey, I'm with the news, what's going on? I would just tell her everything. Like I would just fold like a chair, she's got like this natural intensity about her, and I mean that in a very complimentary way. I said the same about Noelle from my season. Like there's just certain people you see in their eyes, they've got this like fire, and she's one of those people. Strong eyebrows as well, and it's just like it would intimidate me for sure. Like I would have a hard time like doing that dance there. And it's tough too, where, MC doesn't know, but there's knowledge is power out there. Like, what do? Do you tell Savannah like, hey, go away? Like I'm doing this. Like, I think she played it the best she could have, since she was caught with her hand in the cookie jar. Like there's not a whole lot you can do there when you've got a clue in your mouth. But it was fun to watch. I enjoyed the sequence. I think it was wise of her to just play it, but it's hard. I I don't know. I might contradict myself there and say maybe it wasn't wise to play it, but it's a dangerous proposition where everyone knows you have one. And hopefully I know she's a newer fan. I don't know if she knows if knowledge is power is a thing and a possibility out there, but if I was in that position and I got caught doing that, I would do my best to try to like disguise what it was in case there was knowledge is power. They wouldn't know if it's a steal a vote or an advantage. I mean, it's a 50-50 shot, but still at least adding whatever confusion you can in that moment to try to salvage the situation.
Yeah, I thought that MC did a great job where she immediately plays along. I mean, just fesses up because there's nothing she can say. You know, anything she says that's not just admitting the truth is going to be an obvious lie. And so there's really no reason not to fess up here. I did think it was a very funny scene where they kind of have like they sort of like blurred the audio out where like garbled the audio where you can kind of like MC's like scrambling with these locks and then just like Savannah's like yapping at her. But what do you think Savannah just stumbled on her or did Savannah come looking?
My guess is Savannah came looking. I think she's sharp enough to wander around. And plus, there were only 5 of them around camp. So if one person is like, I'm gonna go have some alone time, like that's inherently sus. Like, I don't know. Like I know like she could have said she had to go take an aqua dump. Like I feel like they're like alone time to me that maybe wasn't the best thing to say. And I'm nitpicking here, but still, I do think Savannah probably wanted to take a peek and happened across a good situation for her there.
Yeah. And I do think that, you know, when MC went and sat by the boat, you're kind of like, okay, sometimes athletes like get hot after like a challenge loss and, you know, want to cool down. And I get that. But then when she like wanders off down the beach, you're going to start to wonder what exactly is going on here.
Definitely.
And so I think that it made a lot of sense. I thought Savannah played that great. Like this can be, you know, this can be an opportunity for us to build trust. And even if we kind of got MC's perspective of, I don't buy what Savannah is selling me, I still thought Savannah did a good job of trying to sell her something. Like, you know, it's an awkward moment for them both, not just MC. And so Savannah says, hey, this can be something that builds trust between us. And I really felt that with you already when we were on our last group together. And you know, I think that there is a lot to say about, you know, I think she did that very elegantly. Then Savannah like lunges for the keys when she finds it. Again, like I think that she doesn't have any claim to it, right? I think this is MC's to find. Has been clarified, right?
I'm not sure. Like, what happens if Savannah gets the keys and just hurls them into the ocean, like Boston Rob with the clue in the volcano? Like,
oh, that's interesting. Like, not even claim it as hers, just like discard it entirely. Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. It's a really good question. I do think this might
that would be more in bounds than trying to. You know,
trying to claim it as her own.
It. Yeah. So that's what I'm not saying that's what I would do, but that if I was doing what Savannah did, that would be my play is just be like, no key for you. You're stuck with that box. So I don't know if that would be within the rules, but like you said, I mean, Savannah did the same way MC did, said what she had to say in that situation to try to make it the least awkward as possible and try to turn it into potentially something like that. Just all went out the window when she dove on that thing. Like I thought I was watching Physical 100 or something. Like she went into a different mode and it caught me off guard. I was like, wow, like I didn't expect that. I thought they were going to keep kind of doing their dance and maybe someone would put their foot on it and like, you know, they'd have this awkward tango of like who was going to make the first move. And Savannah said, screw it, I'm making the first move. And I respect that a lot.
Yeah, it was like a gunslinger movie where like they're just like kind of like got their, you know, the hands at the end and then boom, like someone draws and the other one draws at the same time. And
Han shot first. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So MC does ultimately decide to play the idol here. You kind of alluded to thinking it was a good move. I also think it's the right choice here. Everybody knows she has it. You know, she doesn't know that there's a knowledge of power, although we do. And even apart from that, I do think we're kind of moving to this meta of let's just like burn this stuff fast before it like catches up to me. I don't want to be, you know, the accidental person who went home with an idol in their pocket just because something went wrong. You know, maybe she holds on to it if people don't know about it. But I think with everybody knowing about it and the sense that she could be targeted because of that, I don't think it's a wild choice here to make that call.
Certainly not. Yeah, I think that's the variable that sends it over the edge. You know, I think you could have the conversation about like, is playing it as soon as you get it partially like a reputation protector more so than it is like about the actual game you're playing. Like after 46, you know, that's all the talk there is about idols is like, oh, I don't want to end up like that clown car where they just went out back to back to back. And, you know, everyone's scared of that happening to them. You don't want to be that person. And I'm sure it's like, it does a ding to your ego and your view of yourself as a player. And I'm sure I'd be, you know, pooping my pants if I had an idol in my pocket, just like wondering about the paranoia of like, oh man, am I going to be James? Like, what's going to happen? So I certainly don't blame anyone for doing it, but I think like, especially post 46, like the just like gravitas of going home with an idol is a lot stronger than even it was before. And I wonder if that, I don't want to say clouds your judgment, but just adds an even heavier factor to the decision. But yeah, I agree with you. The fact that it was so public and she got caught by the opposition doing it, she really didn't have much of a choice. I just wonder though, like it's hard because like, does she know the votes are going to Steven, or does Steven feel that way because everyone is the main character in their own story? Like how much of that is him actually picking up on the vibe, or versus like, I certainly remember there was a point where I'm like, oh yeah, they're going to vote for me now that, you know, Janine, whatever. I just, you know, you always want to feel like you're important enough to be voted out. So I just wonder like if Steven's read was more of a, you know, just because he's Steven, or because of the circumstances and him actually getting a lay of the land. So it does question of if MC missed something, but I don't think she did.
Yeah, and also we're seeing the story where Steven is the target because that's where the votes ended up. But it's likely that they talked about other possible targets, and I cannot imagine that MC was not one of them, given that she just got an idol. You know,
right?
On the one hand, it's a reason not to vote for someone, and on the other hand, it's also a reason to vote for someone. So, and vis-a-vis 46, it's not just that those people had a blow to their ego; they actually also were voted out of the game. You know, I mean, also it wasn't just like, you know, obviously it's embarrassing, but like they also were actually voted out. So I do think there's that too of, you know, play it, don't just because you feel safe doesn't mean you are safe. All of those people
thought
they
were
were
a little
safe.
foolish than be at Ponderosa looking very foolish.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's like it looks less foolish. Let's talk about Savannah a little bit. You kind of alluded to Savannah here as being this is an interesting other side of Savannah, because the Savannah we've seen so far has been very much in control of her game, very socially adept, very much, you know, guiding the thinking of her various groups. And here we see Savannah a little bit less of that, right? We have two scenes notably with Savannah, one with Sage where she's like pitching Sage really hard and Sage is just not having it at all. And then here too with MC, where she is pitching Sage or pitching MC really hard. And MC's like, oh my gosh, Savannah, like take a step back, take a breath. Is this Savannah just getting her footing in the merge? Like, what are we seeing here?
That's a good question. I mean, I know, like, I think Savannah was the first overall pick in the draft, and like she's been playing really well. And like you said, she seemed like kind of like the nexus of power and like one of the big power brokers on Uli. So it was interesting to see her kind of like on the back foot, where we knew she was on the back foot, and she didn't necessarily know that. It did. I don't know if this is a horrible comparison or not, but it did kind of give me shades of Aubrey on Game Changers, where it did the little supercut of her saying she wanted to have a dialogue with everyone. Just in that, her interactions with both Sage and MC felt very similar in her approach to how she navigated that. And that's not necessarily a criticism, because I think she's a really good communicator. And like I said, she does have this energy about her that I think does open people up and make them want to talk to them. But I think she just had the misfortune of trying to pull that maneuver on two people who were clocking her a little bit. And it was interesting to see both Sage and MC have a similar reaction to Savannah, you know, opening up her eyes and trying to make that intense eye contact and the look at me, like, let's talk here. That
I'm the captain now.
Yeah, I'm the captain now.
Yeah.
That can, I guess, if you've got like a narrative about someone already built up in your head, I could see how that could be off-putting. So I was ultimately like, I was definitely rooting for the bottoms up and the Hinas to pull this off, but it was interesting to see such a big player kind of get bested here this round.
Yeah. Let's take a brief from this chat to talk about your weakness of escape. Jess, put the slide. Okay, taking a little break from my typical blurb reading to talk to you about Stephen Fishbach on tour. So I've got 3 dates announced so far. There will be a few more readings, but the big 3, my launch events for Escape, which I'd love it if all of the people, I mean, maybe not all of the people listening to this podcast, but any of the people listening to this podcast. I don't think these venues can hold all of the people. But on January 27th, the day my book is released, I will be in Washington, D.C. at Politics and Prose on Connecticut. Anybody in the area, I would love it if you could come. That event is free and open to the public, first come, first served. So you do not need to get tickets to that. Then on on January 29th, I will be in Austin, Texas, at Book People with the great Rick Devens interviewing me. You know, we're talking about getting these newscasters, and I thought, who better from the Survivor world to talk about has-been reality TV contestants going back on television than the great Rick Devens. So that event is free, but you can reserve your spot, which I would recommend. You go to stephenfishbach.com. There's an events tab, and you can click there to reserve a spot at Book People on January 29th in Austin, Texas. Then New York City, I'm going to be at the Strand with freaking Emily Nussbaum, New Yorker writer, author of Cue the Sun, like the book about reality TV, you know, the previous book about reality, but not really the book about reality television. We will be and I'm super excited for this event. It's going to be big. Hopefully there will be some kind of after event too. I'm still looking into that. But that event you do have to pay for and register in advance. I think it's like $13 without a book. And then with the book, obviously the price of the book too. So again, stephenfishbach.com, you can click through to the events tab and register for my Austin event with Rick Devens and my New York City event on January 30th with Emily Nussbaum. Register now. Supplies are limited. They're going fast. And really looking forward to seeing you soon. Hopefully it's a lot of fun. Hopefully it's a lot of fun. I think it'll be fun, like, you know, for those who love books and just generally those who love, you know, Survivor and convivial evenings.
Sounds beautiful. Who's hob-knobbing with the glitterati now, Stephen?
Well, I'll take a brief break and go back to our episode because we have something really important to talk about, Owen, before we get into the promo. Or maybe let's just do the promo. Maybe you're right, Jess. Let's just go into the whole promo and then we can get to that. Okay. This is the big new, right? Gosh, I can't. This is not promo. This is huge. So RHAP is a nominee for the overall reality podcast at the American Reality Television Awards. Artists, not to be confused with artists from Survivor Philippines, but artists. So to vote, text artists, again, ARTAS, to 76626. You know, we support Rob. My gosh, like this is the best reality podcast. Or RHAP is generally, I guess. I mean, this specifically, but RHAP generally. Then tonight, join the group chat. Owen and I will be chatting live at 8 p.m. Although I guess this is post 8 p.m. So have joined. Owen and I have been chatting live at 8 p.m. We were chatting live at 8 p.m. With Owen and Gabby, Sam, Teeny, Sophie, and many, many more. It is a very fun group chat, and truly, it's honestly like my favorite discussion about Survivor, other than the know-it-alls itself, because it is just like a lot of like very funny, great Survivor players, as well as a huge community, just coming up with great takes. Christian is very funny in that chat. Who are your standouts in that chat?
Christian is hilarious. I mean, it seems like he's, after a long day of teaching robotics, he likes to unwind with a glass of wine and just type away. Sam, I always appreciate his takes. I like when Tyson pops his head in there. It's a good time. It's really fun. Kelly Wentworth, star of the chat as well.
Yeah, Kelly Wentworth, my gosh. And Mike Bloom is a great contributor with like polls and fun things. Sophie Clark has good takes, and there are some people from this season who have poked their heads in. It's a contentious issue whether or not they should be allowed to contribute, but they do.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Then we have the RHAP patron Q&A about episode 7. So if you know what that means, you'll enjoy that. And then of course, Club Condo with Rob and Chappelle. And again, if you are a fan of Club Condo, then this is the podcast for you. And then, of course, we have all of the We Know Survivor podcasts with the B&B, Global Survivor, YX Lost, and the great Purple Pants podcasts. so many podcasts, just so many podcasts. And of course, The Amazing Race is apparently on. I'm seeing from this slide, Big Brother edition, still happening. So if you're watching it, this is something where you could listen to some analysis of the latest episode. And so with that out of the way, let's talk about the most important subject of the episode, which is the Fishy Award. Okay, Owen, this is a tough one because I agree with you that this was a good move for a lot of players, but a bad move within a good move, because voting out Nate, I don't know if necessarily was the best move. So let's talk about who deserves the Fishy for this week. Do you want to give me some? I'm usually the one, I guess it's my award. But who are we going to knight, Owen, as the reigning Sir Fish-a-lot?
I feel like you have to look at one of the three bottoms up, right? You're looking at Sage, Steven, or Jawan here. I think my inclination is to go towards Sage, I suppose, but I might be biased just because I love her and I think she's phenomenal television. And I've really enjoyed her, but I don't know, finding the advantage, who cares? I was going to say, because she found the advantage, like that's a bonus point, but like, who cares? She found a key. Which, by the way, quick sidebar, I hated that. Let them just intermingle at the beginning of the merge.
Let's talk about. Let's actually have a whole more than a sidebar. Let's do the Fishy and then let's talk about that, because I actually wanted to ask you about that. Okay. Let's so to talk.
We'll table that for later.
Sage. Yeah. So
I think Sage could be a contender there. Who ultimately was pushing Nate? Was Christina the one pushing Nate?
Christina was the one pushing for Nate. At least from what we saw, Sage was the one pushing for Savannah, and Jawan was the one pushing for Rizzo.
So how much do you value the person getting what they want? Because ultimately,
I think that's pretty important, getting what you want. But also I like flexibility. So going along with a plan, even if it's not your specific plan, I think that's important too.
Yeah, I will say, to Christina's point, I fear that Christina is getting intentionally goated here. Derogatory goated, not greatest of all time, but like goat dragged to the end. Like I feel like she's in a very on the precipice of becoming a player that people just ice out and just be like, yeah, we can get her whenever. Honestly, I can empathize with that a lot. But to her credit, to make the argument for her getting it here, she got what she wanted in Nate. I think we can assume / reasonably guess that she may have been the one to clue Alex into the plan, which maybe could set her up well moving forward now that she's helped the Hina bottom feeder or bottoms up situation gain some power, but then she's also setting herself up to get a core 4 within that 7. Maybe she is setting the table for some more moves moving forward, even though she hasn't been much of a power player from what we've seen in the edit thus far. So to her credit, I think she could be in contention here.
Okay, so Christina, you've mentioned Sage. Anybody else that you think is in contention?
I think Jawan over Steven, if I want to give a third, just because the way he navigated the lie around the Shannon boot, the way Rizzo opened up to him about not playing his idol. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to maximize his returns on that one there, but I would throw Jawan in the mix as well.
So I actually think I'm going to go a little off piste here, Owen, and I want to present you a counter argument, and you tell me what you think. Please. Okay. My gut is saying Steven here, because I think Steven is the one who benefits the most from this. As I was saying, granted, he was the target, which is not good. So that's not ideal to have been the target out of the gate. That said, he has this bottom feeder alliance, right, which voted together last episode. I didn't think watching that necessarily they were going to stay together. He comes up with the name bottoms up. And that, single-handedly with his great, I do think the name helps. I think the name helps kind of turn it into a real thing. I think Steven benefits the most from the bottoms up alliance because he is the link to the bottoms up alliance, but he also is obviously still connected to old Hina. And I kind of think voting out Nate benefits him the most, simply because taking the safer option here is the thing that is best for him as the other potential target. Also, I know I like to mix it around a little bit, give people their flowers who have not yet received their flowers.
Don't tell
That's not
Sophie.
dispositive, but that is, I think, that's a factor here to me. I can see. I
The
think
socialist award. Look at you.
Yeah, well, yeah. I think that I lived a long time in New York, so now it's it's just like part of my DNA. I think Juwan was probably right here that Rizzo was the best choice, but he didn't get his way. I think Sage had a really good point that Savannah was a really good choice because we've seen how sharky she is. She couldn't get it done. I thought Christina had a bad point for Christina, but that is what, and again, like I think Steven was a real beneficiary of that point.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that I'm going to give it, unless you want, well, tell me what you think. Tell me.
No, I don't disagree. Go ahead and crown him.
Steven the Fishy Award. I used to be anti Stevens. I wanted to be the only and best Steven, but now I'm, with my dotage, with my advancing years, I've gained empathy and generosity towards other Stevens, and I'm really enjoying this one.
At least he spells it with a V. Although, did you catch someone voted?
I didn't see who. I wanted to see who used the correct spelling, because kudos to that person. Maybe that person should get the Fishy for spelling Steven with the PH. All right, let's talk very briefly about this this key test. Also, I want to, well, even before we do that, what do you think about splitting the merge feast in two? Do you like this idea? They got rid of earn the merge, but you still have to earn the merge feast. Where are you on that?
I do not like it. I am anti that. I feel like that's a hallmark of Survivor, right? You make the merge, you get a little treat. You deserve a little treat. You made it this far. Maybe because it's only 26 days now, we don't deserve as much of a treat because it's not real Survivor according to some people. But, I think it takes away some of the celebratory energy. Like I saw in Sage's conversation with Dalton, she didn't even really care that much that it was the merge. It's like she's so locked in on the game that she wasn't really able to celebrate the milestone. And I think even though she was at the meal, I feel like, what's the point? Like, who's this for to not have it?
Yeah, I basically agree with you, Owen. I mean, I do think Jeff is really big on earning everything in this new era of Survivor. And I can see the conversation where they convinced him that, oh no, they're earning they still have to earn the feast. We can have a real merge. They're still earning the feast. But I also, I think it's nice to see people just have nice things. You don't want to see them suffer all the time. I mean, and I'm realizing this even as a writer in the fiction, because I think I'm more prone to creating conflict. But in the fiction that I love, you do kind of want to see people have moments of grace and happiness and joy, and of course, then the moments of tragedy and suffering are all the more intense because they had those relaxing moments, because they could, be expansive and be, at ease. And, I think you want all of that. You don't want them all just gritting through it miserably.
Yeah. You don't have something to lose if you never had anything good, right?
Right. Yeah. And I've always, obviously as a player, you love the merge, but even as a viewer, I love the merge, watching everybody kind of relax and be a part of something. And I do think that's something that's really important to Survivor, is it's not just a game where you're fighting for it. It's also people. And Rob really said this so beautifully last episode, honestly, on the conflict side of things, that what we're missing from current Survivor is these sort of interpersonal conflicts, these people feuding, not just these kind of game pieces outmaneuvering each other. But I also think, from the nicer component aspect of that, we're missing some of these moments of levity and grace. The auction obviously was the example of that, just where it could just be goofy and fun and everyone could be having a good time. And I think as viewers, that is actually enjoyable to watch. That doesn't feel like, I'm missing out on drama. It just feels like it's nice because the whole show is dramatic. So I do feel like I missed the merge. And I don't love half of them not having it, because then it's just okay, then these people are eating and these people are not, and you don't really feel the specialness of it. You kind of loses some of that. And then it goes
stunted strategy talk too.
Sorry.
And it stunted strategy talk too, because the group at the feast couldn't talk because they were all from different factions and they were just sitting there waiting to finish their charcuterie, and Sage laid on the ground because she was Tootie. It's they don't even get to do the dance yet. They just have to wait.
Yeah, I will say the best half merge feast was, of course, your half merge feast, where Gabler just comes out and says he wants Ellie out. That was great. That was just that's very memorable TV. So, every format can have its moments. And the key thing too, it's fun to watch them running around, but because it's so random, it's okay, she happened to grab the right key.
Yeah, woohoo, nicely done. But no, we had something like that before the Last Gasp challenge, where Cody got the choose your champion advantage, which, by the way, I thought was like kind of a cool advantage. But I didn't care for it just because it seemed like it was the same day that they had merged, and I'm sure it only took like half an hour or something, but still, like I thought the whole point of the merge is to have finally that cross-pollination happening, and to have all these relationships that you had built come to a head, and like to like let it start percolating. And obviously it still will later in the day, but I just don't understand the interrupting that. Maybe it was just a function of them having 11 people instead of 10, like they needed to do something like that. But I just thought, like, it annoyed me a little bit, if I'm being honest. I was just like, what, let them just go off and do the thing and talk and like whisper and play the game.
Yeah, I'm with you on this, Owen. I agree. I think that's what I missed too. Well, thank you so much. And as always, an exceptional guest with so much great game insight as well as banter. What do you got going on? What's coming up for you?
Not a whole lot. I have to go back to freaking work soon, because I'm split my parental leave in half. So I will be headed back to work soon, and perhaps taking in more of the episodes. But honestly, I'm just enjoying fatherhood. It's been a really special time getting to see our daughter just like come home, and now she's starting to smile, she's starting to laugh. Like it's really, really incredible. And I am gonna say this to your face: thank you so much for everything you've done for us, just sending a couple extra carriers you had laying around, and the gift, and just it's really kind and generous. And I'm honored to call you a friend, and it means a lot to have you just kind of supporting me through this journey. And it's great. I feel like I've got someone that I can talk to about this, because you've got daughters too, and it's really cool. It's very touching. So thank you, Stephen.
Oh, that's really nice of you to say. I mean, honestly, you're a wonderful friend, and it's been great to develop that friendship, and it's my pleasure, and I'm so excited to see you and Sammy as parents, because I know you are just I was going to be great parents, but I know you're already exceptional parents, and I know that
I'm trying.
You are at every step of the way going to be really, really wonderful parents, and you have such a lucky little girl.
Thanks, man.
And
I'm also excited for Escape on This Bookshelf. That's the only other thing I'm thinking about. I'm ready. I keep seeing the reviews come in, and I want my copy, but I'll have to wait. I think I did Barnes and Noble, so I think in January I'll finally get my grubby hands on it.
Well, those of you who've not ordered it can still order it at stephenfishbach.com. Signed copies as well as unsigned copies, whatever you want. If you want a pristine inner pages with none of my like grubby signatures on it, you can that's available to you as well. But I mean, Barnes and Noble is a great choice. If that's what
I think I did it through your website to be fair. But
no, but it all funnels out. My website goes to Barnes and Noble as well as others. So thank you so much, Owen. Thank you, Jess, behind the scenes, and hoping that everyone at the San Francisco event is having a wonderful time hobnobbing with the glitterati. You all are the glitterati, because you're hobnobbing with each other.
Glitter away, folks.
All right, thanks so much. And I think we did all the promo stuff, so we're good. All right, this was great. Thank you so much, Owen. This was really great.
Thanks for having me. It was awesome. Bye.
All right, end transmission.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.